Hi everyone and welcome to the class. This is David A. Cox with Tech Talk America, and today I am happy to share with all of you all the things that you need to know about iOS 11. This is the new operating system that's going to run on your iPhone and iPad. So today I'm going to talk about all the different changes that you're going to find. And one thing I just want to give you a little heads up about is that we are going to do a little bit of jumping around today because there are certain changes that you're going to find that are on both devices and others that are not, that are either on the iPad or the iPhone. So we're going to jump around, cover as much as we can, coming up next on TechTalkAmerica.com. All right, everyone. So I was kind of trying to think about what order did I want to teach iOS 11 in, and I think the first place I want to start today is somewhere where I recommend everyone go to as soon as you're really done with installing any new operating system, whether it's on your iPhone, iPad, or Mac, which is the App Store. Because keep in mind, when you load a new operating system, you do have the current versions of the various apps on your device, but the thing is that you're running the latest version for the last operating system. So a lot of times it's very normal when you install a new operating system to have little bugs there that just need to be cleared out, and the easiest way to do that is to run the updates. So I recommend you check out the new App Store. It's got the same information, just a little bit of a redesign. Now all of our tabs are at the bottom, so we have Today, where you can find out about new apps that are out, things coming out. I'm sure they're going to be profiling a lot of the augmented reality apps as that gains popularity. Games now has its own little section here. Apps, basically, same information, just a little bit of a different look. Updates, that's where you're going to want to go right off the bat. Just run everything. And then we have, of course, the search bar down at the bottom right corner. Now, the next thing I want to go over, I want to go over several changes to just functionality. So the first thing we're going to talk about is multitasking. So multitasking is when you're in an app, like let's just go back into the App Store for a moment, and let's say I want to go back to the last thing that I did. Well, the way that you get there is the same, which is to double-click the home button, but there is now another way as well. You can also swipe up twice from the bottom of the screen. Now, for those of you out there, if you've got like a big case on your device, it might be a little hard to do that. So that's where definitely knowing that you can double click the home button may be an easier solution. I know especially on some of those OtterBox cases, it can be very difficult to swipe up from below the screen. So this is the new view that you're going to see. You'll see we have a lot of new stuff going on here. We have Control Center as part of this. We have a dock now with apps that are launchable. And here are the most recent apps that I was in. So if I want to switch back and forth, like I was just buying a bunch of stuff for my home at Home Depot, I can just, boom, switch back, and I'm here. Double click the home button, and we go back. The other thing I like to remind folks is that if you ever run into a situation where an app is crashing, at least from my own experience, it tends to be Facebook, it's important to know how to quit out of it. Because when you just simply hit the home button, you're not really quitting out of it. You're leaving it kind of for now. It's like minimizing it on a Mac. So the way that you completely clear it out from running is you swipe up. So you'd come to this screen and then swipe up on any of these. And if you can spread your fingers wide enough, you can actually do up to 4 at a time. Okay, and those will just clear out. A lot of times, sometimes I'll go through the comments and I see people referencing this thing from years ago. You do not have to clear out all the apps to save battery life. That's no longer an issue. That was the case about 6 years ago. Not so much anymore. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is what you see here on the right side of the screen. So that is Control Center. It used to be at the bottom of the screen. Now it's on the right. And you'll see here that a lot of the icons should look familiar, but there's going to be some new ones too. And the reason why is that it's now customizable, and even more so on the iPhone, now that you have features like 3D Touch. So all of the same controls are here. I am going to show you how to customize that when we get into settings, which is a little bit later, but I would strongly recommend, for those of you out there who have Apple TV, there's now a feature, as you can see here on mine, where you can turn your iPhone or iPad immediately into a remote for Apple TV. You could do it before too, but you had to use a special remote app, and now it's just a lot easier to get into it. And then down here at the bottom, we have the dock. So the dock is a combination of a couple of things. So towards the left-hand side, there are apps that you can drag in, just the same way you would do it on a Mac. But you'll notice there's a little thin line, if you're having trouble seeing it, on my screen, it's between Facebook and the App Store. And that little section of apps over there is for apps that you have either recently used or apps that your iPad thinks that you might use soon. So you will see that it's constantly changing. And it's a feature that you may or may not like. I sometimes find it a little weird that my iPad's trying to predict what I'm going to do next. But if you want to turn it off, it's actually in Settings under General. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. The next feature I want to talk about a little bit here, and I'm going to definitely give you some opinion on this one, is the new Files app. Now, this is the folder icon that you see at the bottom center of my screen. And this is basically a new way to get into your files that are located on iCloud Drive, but also other things as well. There is integration for other services like Dropbox and Google Drive, which you'll see there on mine. I think it's nice that they made this available. The problem for me personally is just the functionality aspects, because it's like it's trying to do something that the Mac would do, but not really. Let me give you an example. And obviously I cannot speak for all of you and how you all do what you do. For me, a lot of times when I'm using files that I have on Dropbox and Google Drive, it's involving collaborating with other people. And there's really no way to do that through this. If you do that kind of function, you're still able to do it on your iPad, but you have to do it through those individual apps. So you'd have to go into the Dropbox app, into the Google Drive app, or whatever your preference is. So, for example, if I go into my Google Drive account here, okay, blur out that email address. Here's a charity event that I photographed recently. The one at the very bottom that says Police and Firefighter Party. If I want to share this to someone, as you can see here, I have really no selection options. So again, for me, it's kind of limited functionality, but this does give you access to everything you have in iCloud Drive. So if iCloud Drive is how you store all of your stuff, then this will be a very good feature. The final thing I kind of want to say about this is that this is only really going to work well if you have iCloud Drive also turned on your computer. Just keep in mind that if you do that, it's going to take all of the files and folders that are on your desktop and in your Documents folder, and it's going to now upload those to the cloud, which is good and bad, depending on what kind of a person you are. If you have a very, very messy desktop, this may not be a great solution for you. Maybe it's good motivation to get clean. I don't know. But if you are a very clean person with your files, I'm sure this will be a great, great little feature. The next thing I wanted to cover is some of the setting differences. So we're going to actually go in settings. I'm going to just kind of give you a rundown on some of these. So the first one, I'll show you, this is great for any of you out there who travel, okay? If you turn on airplane mode, and I believe I can demo this for all of you without screwing up this recording. If I turn on airplane mode, I want you to watch Bluetooth. So in the past, you turn on airplane mode, it kills Wi-Fi, it kills Bluetooth. Now, it kills Wi-Fi, it does not kill Bluetooth. So for those of you out there who are using things like maybe the Apple Pencil, or if you're using a Bluetooth keyboard or Bluetooth headphones, you won't have to, reconnect your devices, which is always a pain. The next little feature I'm going to show you here is in Control Center. So we're going to go into that, and this is where we can go to customize everything. This should look very familiar. I'm sure a lot of you just by looking at this screen can figure out how to navigate this, but basically you can reorder aspects of Control Center. So for example, you saw in mine Apple TV, the remote control, let me go back into it, was here towards the top. The lock, silent, and do not disturb icons you cannot remove. Those are there. But whatever's below that, you can customize. And so this is where you can go to reorder them, remove them, add them, and you can kind of see the different options here. But I absolutely like that they have Apple TV, and I would also recommend that you consider adding notes. This is, I believe, by default, I don't believe this is actually here, but notes got a big improvement. We're going to be going over that in a little bit as far as a document scanner. So there you go. Next thing, really quick, we're going to go over is, as with every new iOS operating system, we have a few new high-definition wallpapers to choose from. So you can go through here, you can go into the stills feature. I recommend staying away from dynamic. It just kind of eats your battery alive. And you can see here we have some very pretty, as we always do, high-definition images. We got a lot of rainbows this time. I don't know why, but anyway. A lot of interesting images to choose from, but of course I know a lot of folks tend to just upload their own photos from their camera roll, which you can do just below. I'm going to actually jump back just for a moment here. I'm going to go actually into general just so I can show you all this. If you did not like that feature that I showed you a moment ago with the dock where it shows you on the right hand side where it shows you recent apps that you have used or apps that it thinks that you might use, this is where you can go if you wish to disable that feature. So it's in general, multitasking, and dock, and it's that last option right there. Next, let's go into Siri. Siri got a couple of little updates here. You can now use the HEY Siri feature. You're welcome, everyone. I tried to do that so I don't set off all of your devices at home. But you can now use that feature from your iPad. So that's kind of a cool feature. Also, you'll notice that when you use Siri, it's a little visually different, and the voices have been modified a little bit so that they're a little bit more clear. As you can see, I've switched mine to a British female. I don't know. I always mix it up. The next place I would recommend you check out, for those of you out there who are running low on space on your devices, check this out. If you go into iTunes and App Store, you'll notice that there's now this new feature here. If you look at the bottom right, it says offload unused apps. So if you have apps that you just really haven't used in a long time, it'll remove the apps. Any data that's stored within the apps, it will preserve. But it'll just have to reinstall it eventually. So that's just a really nice way to get back some space if you're very low. And finally, the last feature that I would strongly recommend that you check out, especially for those of you out there who are shooting photos and video on your devices, check this out. Go into camera settings, and I would strongly recommend that if you look here at the very top, it says preserve settings. What this will basically do, and this affects me virtually every day, when you use the camera app, it automatically by default goes into photo mode first. By turning on the setting, if you're on video, next time you turn on the camera, it'll already be on video. You don't have to swipe up in order to switch it over. So I would strongly recommend you check that out. It'll also do the same settings for the square mode as well. By the way, speaking of square mode, for those of you who care to follow me on Instagram, I don't do it an awful lot, but if you'd like to, I am on there. I've got a couple of different ones. I got Droning Provincetown and at Tech Talk America. The next feature I want to show you really quickly has to do with the Maps app. So if you use the Apple Maps application on your iPhone or iPad, one of the things that you will notice is that now there's support for indoor maps at places like malls and airports. Also, if you are driving, it'll give you lane directions. Personally, I still prefer the app known as Waze, W-A-Z-E, especially just because it lets you know when there's police ahead. But if you want to check that out, hey, go for it. I'm actually going to go back to one quick thing in regards to the dock, which I realized I did not cover, although it may be obvious to some of you, but I want to just really quickly talk about how to add or remove apps from the dock. So all you have to do in order to do this is press and hold on any app, doesn't matter which one. They'll start to jiggle, do their little dance, and then if you want to add it to the dock, you're just going to drag it and drop it there. Okay, and as you'll see here, it'll make room for quite a few of them. If I just keep going here, see, we can get really teeny tiny. Okay, and then as far as the ones over on the right-hand side, if you do want to just kind of remove them, there is a little minus symbol there, so that'll remove it from the dock. You're not deleting the app. In fact, I think it's, where is it here? I have it in my little shopping list of apps. Shopping. There it is. See? Home Depot still there. But it'll just remove it from there. I have found a couple of little weird bugs where it just like immediately comes right back, which is where for a while I actually did turn it off. The next feature that I want to show you is really only going to apply to those of you who do not use a Bluetooth keyboard. And this is specifically for iPad users. So one of the things you'll notice, I just disconnected my keyboard so that the on-screen keyboard would pop up. And you'll notice, check it out, the keyboard looks a little bit different. So for example, if you look at the letter Q, you'll see that there's a little gray number 1 above it. I love this feature. This makes typing on an on-screen keyboard way easier. When you need special characters, symbols, numbers, check this out. Instead of tapping on the letter Q, what you do is you swipe down on it. Okay, oops, it says test 5.1 now. So for example, if I want to do the number 2, I tap on the W key, but I drag down on it. And that's how it triggers it. While we're here in Notes, another feature I want to show you is that now we have support for tables. So I've reconnected my Bluetooth keyboard. If you look at the bottom right of my screen, you will see the little icon for table. I can just tap on that, and now we can adjust the table by just simply dragging and adjusting it. The next feature I want to show you here, once again in Notes, is that now we have a built-in document scanner. This is a very, very cool feature, long overdue. So if you're on your iPad and you're doing this, if you look at, again, the bottom right corner, you'll see that there's a little teeny tiny plus symbol. If I tap on that, here we go, scan documents. Now I'm, you can see here I'm at my desk right now. So let's see here, I'm going to just use this little box if I can find it here. By the way, love this product, the Nano Leaf. This is just an add-on. But as you can see here, as I just kind of hover over it, check it out. I didn't even have to do anything. I literally did not hit a single button in doing that. And it scans it, and boom, it's good to go. The next feature I want to show you briefly is Siri has a little new feature. Siri can now translate. So for example, at the end of my classes, I always tell you all class dismissed. Let's try it out in French. I don't speak French, by the way. Siri, how do you say class dismissed in French?
Cours terminé.
Very good. Good to know. Now all I have to do is remember how to say that. And if you want to repeat it, by the way, you'll notice there is a little play button there.
Cours terminé.
Let's see if I can remember that for the end of this video. Heads up, I won't. The next little feature that I'll just mention is the News app got a little bit of an update. It's just a little bit more intelligent as far as being able to predict what news stories interest you. So ultimately, the more that you use it, the better trained it's going to become at being able to predict what kind of stories you tend to gravitate towards, whether it's tech or politics or whatever it may be. The next feature that I want to show you is on the iPhone specifically. And parents, I would really strongly recommend you go over this one with your kids. So go into settings, scroll down here to do not disturb, and then scroll towards the bottom. So do not disturb, basically when you turn it on, this is the icon. You actually do currently see it on mine because I'm recording right now, but it's the little crescent moon icon. And when do not disturb is turned on, it means that it's not going to ding when you get in text messages or phone calls unless they call twice. That's where that little repeated calls thing, which you see actually at the top of my screen, is currently turned on. But if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see here we have do not disturb while driving. So this gives your phone the ability to automatically, it'll turn it on when you're driving. And in order to even get into your phone, you have to clear the screen. And I believe it's you have to press I'm not driving in order to get through it. So this is definitely a good move, I think, on Apple's part to try to cut down on the distracted driving thing. And this is what I keep mine on because I think it's a good thing. Also, I want you to look just below that, okay? So, for example, if you look here, it says auto reply. So we can say, I'm driving with do not disturb while driving turned on. I'll see your message when I get where I'm going. What you may want to consider doing is maybe even consider adding into that this. If this is an emergency, please call me twice. Again, this is where that key feature of having the repeated calls turned on, okay? It's just a great feature. I would strongly recommend that all of you consider doing that. The next feature, also only on the iPhone, is here in Emergency SOS, which is a new feature you'll find underneath Touch ID. And basically what this does is if you rapidly click the sleep wake button 5 times, you can have it automatically call an emergency service. If you scroll down on that same screen, sorry, I have to blur out some of my contacts on my phone at this point. I would suggest that you take a moment to just look at your emergency contacts listed in the Health app. Anytime you update a new operating system, you know, hey, it's good to get some things checked out. Make sure that whoever is set in your emergency contacts is correct. Make sure their phone information is correct. And I would strongly recommend, if you are going to use this emergency SOS feature, that you consider turning on the countdown sound. So it's going to play a loud noise if it's about to call for help. Hi everyone, okay, a little behind the scenes moment here. So I want to show you this feature. I can't show you the whole way through, so I'm going to have to actually end up pausing and editing this later on. But I want to show you when you take a live photo, which by the way, you can tell that it's a live photo because if you look above my head, see that little yellow circle? So what you can do, that indicates that it's going to take 1.5 seconds of video before and after you take your photo. I just did one, so let's actually get out of this. Hopefully this won't screw up my recording. And let's go into, so here's one I took just a moment ago. So if you go into these, one of the things you'll notice is that if you scroll down on it, you can now add these little effects. Like you can, for example, you can loop it, you can bounce it. It's giving you kind of a little preview down there. You can also do a long exposure effect. Okay, just kind of a cute little feature. I don't know how many of you will actually use it. Also, if you go in to edit a live photo, you can now change the key photo just by swiping down here towards the bottom. And any effects that you want to apply, you can add the same effects that you'd apply to a normal photo. Also, you can crop it and edit it however you want, but you can now just do that to a live photo. Now, for those of you out there who are maybe not looking to have Do Not Disturb mode automatically turn on when you get into a car, I want to show you something that maybe, for some of you, may be a happy medium. So if you go into your iPhone's settings and you go into Control Center, what you can do is if you go into Customize Controls, one of the features that you can add on the iPhone is Do Not Disturb while driving. So this is a way to manually turn it on. It's not going to automatically do it, but it will do it when you're in the car. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. If you don't mind, hit that little like button, leave us a comment below, and we will see you next time. This is David A. Cox with Tech Talk America. Class dismissed.